If you think you have seen wickedness, then you have never sat in the kitchen of a woman whose husband just bought a brand new Lexus for a girl young enough to be his last born.
Jemima, yes, that was her name before she gave birth to Esther and became Mama Esther, did not start her life with wickedness. No. 8 years ago, when she married Ned Nwosu, she was as gentle as a dove.
Ned was a man who loved 3 things: pounded yam, heavy laughter, and fresh skin. And right now, Kaima was the freshest skin. When Ned brought Kaima home 6 months ago, he told Jemima, "Jemima, she is just here to help you with the house chores. You are the queen. She is the maid."
Within 3 months, Kaima had moved from the guest room to the master bedroom. Within 4 months, she stopped washing Jemima's clothes and started throwing Jemima's clothes out of the laundry basket. By the 5th month, she was calling Jemima auntie with a voice that sounded like sandpaper on a fresh wound. "Auntie Jemima," Kaima said one morning, leaning against the kitchen door with her hand on her slightly bulging stomach. She was wearing a silk nightgown that Ned had bought for Jemima 2 years ago, but it fit Kaima much better.
Auntie Jemima, Ned said I shouldn't stress myself with the cooking today. The aroma of your soup is giving the baby a headache. Can you make something lighter? Maybe just cereal?
Jemima felt a vein throb in her forehead. She was currently pounding yam, sweat dripping down her face.
Kaima, the baby has a headache? At 3 months? Is your womb a disco hall?
Kaima laughed, a high-pitched tinkling sound that made Jemima want to shove the pestle down her throat.
Jealousy is a sickness, Auntie. Anyway, Ned is taking me to the boutique later. He said my glow needs new diamonds. Don't overwork yourself, eh? We wouldn't want you to faint before the driver comes.
Kaima swiveled her hips and walked away. Jemima stood there, the heavy wooden pestle suspended in mid-air. She was now a ghost in her own home. Ned didn't look at her during dinner anymore. He didn't ask about their children. He only asked, "Has Kaima eaten? Did Kaima get her vitamins?" That was the moment Jemima decided that the dove had stayed in the cage for too long. It was time for the hawk to fly. But before you start feeling too sorry for Jemima, let me tell you something about life. Life has a wicked sense of balance. Sometimes it waits years before collecting a debt. But when it finally arrives, it knows the exact house number. Because 8 years earlier, another woman had stood exactly where Jemima was standing now. That woman was Chizaram. Back then, Jemima did not live in a mansion. She lived in a cramped room where the roof leaked whenever it rained. Every morning before sunrise, she carried basins of stockfish to her stall and spent her day arguing with flies and bargaining customers. Her closest friend was Chizaram. Now, Chizaram was the complete opposite of Jemima. If Jemima was gari soaked in cool water, Chizaram was pepper soup served boiling hot. She sold eggs in the next row of the market. She was loud. She was fearless. She insulted customers professionally. One afternoon, a customer tried to collect eggs on credit. Chizaram folded her arms and stared at her.
Madam, I'll pay tomorrow,
the customer pleaded.
Wonderful,
Chizaram replied. The woman smiled. Then, Chizaram continued.
And tomorrow I will become the governor of Lagos. Since we are both discussing impossible things, let us continue.
The entire market burst into laughter. Even Jemima laughed so hard she nearly dropped her stockfish. That was Chizaram. People feared her. People avoided her, but somehow Jemima loved her. One afternoon, when customers were scarce and the sun was busy punishing innocent citizens, Jemima wandered over to Chizaram's stall. A black Prado jeep had just dropped Chizaram off. The driver had opened the door for her. The market women were already whispering. Jemima sat down beside her friend.
Chizaram, tell me the truth. How did you meet that rich man? Ned?
Chizaram adjusted her human hair proudly. It was simple. I went to buy eggs at his poultry. He happened to be around. We talked. The next week he invited me for lunch. The rest is history. Jemima blinked. That's all? That's all.
You just met him while buying eggs? What did you expect? That I found him inside a shrine?
The two women laughed. But while Chizaram laughed and moved on, Jemima remained thoughtful. Very thoughtful. That night she could not sleep. She stared at the ceiling and thought about poultry farms. She thought about Prado jeeps. She thought about the landlord who had increased her rent again. She thought about the fact that she had to count every naira and kobo before buying cooking oil. And by morning, Jemima had made a decision. A decision that would eventually change all their lives. 3 weeks later, the stockfish seller had become an egg seller. The market women were confused. Jemima, what happened to your fish? Jemima smiled. I am diversifying. Nobody knew that the new egg business had only one target. His name was Ned Nwosu, and destiny was already clearing its throat. The first time Jemima visited Ned's poultry farm as an egg supplier, she spent nearly 2 hours choosing her clothes. She wore her best cloth, borrowed Chizaram's perfume without permission. She looked at herself in the mirror. Even her reflection looked surprised. The poultry farm was enormous. Jemima had expected to meet a manager. Instead, she met Ned. He was standing near one of the poultry sheds, shouting instructions at workers. Nobody should leave feed bags in the rain. Do you think chickens eat water? The workers scattered immediately. Jemima almost laughed. For a rich man, he sounded surprisingly normal. Ned noticed her standing nearby. Good afternoon. Jemima lowered her eyes. Good afternoon, sir. Ned looked at the crates she was carrying. New supplier? Yes. For a brief moment, neither of them noticed how long they had been looking at each other. Unfortunately, Destiny noticed, and Destiny has excellent eyesight. After that day, Ned found reasons to be around whenever Jemima came to buy eggs. The workers began exchanging knowing glances. The drivers noticed. The accountant noticed. Even the chickens probably noticed. Only Chizaram remained completely unaware. Whenever Jemima returned from a delivery, Chizaram would ask, "Did they pay?" And Jemima would answer, "Yes." Technically, she wasn't lying. What she failed to mention was that she and Ned had begun talking about everything except eggs. They talked about business, they talked about family, they talked about dreams. For the first time in years, somebody looked at Jemima as if she mattered. That feeling became addictive. 3 months later, the market woke up to a rumor. Ned Nwosu and Chizaram were having problems. At first, nobody believed it. Those two fought every week. People assumed this was simply another chapter in their ongoing civil war. Then one afternoon, Chizaram stormed into the market carrying a crate of eggs like it had personally offended her. Men are useless! The entire market became quiet. Whenever Chizaram shouted, people listened. Men are wicked! A tomato seller whispered, "Which man?" Chizaram pointed dramatically towards the sky. All of them! The tomato seller nodded. That seemed safer. For 2 weeks, Chizaram moved around the market breathing fire. Then, the truth finally surfaced. Ned had ended the relationship. The news spread through the market faster than free money. Some people sympathized with Chizaram. Others secretly enjoyed the gossip. Only Jemima felt something far more dangerous. Guilt. But not enough guilt to stop her, but enough to make her avoid eye contact. One evening, Chizaram appeared at her room carrying malt and meat pie. That was how they usually spent difficult days together. Talking, laughing, complaining about life. The sight of her friend nearly broke Jemima. Jemima, Chizaram said softly, do you know what hurts? Jemima swallowed. What? I loved him. For the first time, Chizaram's voice carried no anger, only sadness. He used to say I was too loud, too stubborn, too troublesome. Maybe he was right. Maybe if I had changed, he would have stayed. Jemima looked away. A heavy silence settled between them. Then Chizaram laughed bitterly. Imagine me crying over a man. If the market women see me now, my reputation will be ruined. Jemima forced a smile. That night, she did not sleep. A week later, Ned proposed.
Marry me.
What?
Marry me.
Ned!
I'm serious.
Jemima stared at him. For years, she had dreamed of escaping poverty. For years, she had prayed for a better life. Now that life was sitting beside her. But it came carrying somebody else's tears. What about Chizaram? The question lingered between them. Ned sighed. What about her? For a long moment, she stared at the tiled floor. Ned, she said quietly. She's my friend.
I know.
Ned rubbed his forehead. I know. Then why are you doing this?
Because
I don't love her. Jemima felt something uncomfortable twist inside her chest.
You
loved her before. I thought I did.
I thought I did.
Ned looked directly at her.
Jemima, I am tired of fighting every day. I'm tired of shouting. I'm tired of explaining every decision. With you, there is peace.
It was exactly the wrong thing to say. Because peace was not what Jemima felt. She felt temptation. And temptation is often louder than peace. 3 months later, she became Mrs. Jemima Nwosu. The wedding was small. The gossip was enormous. For 3 weeks, the entire market talked about nothing else. Some traders supported Jemima. Others condemned her. Chizaram did not attend the wedding. At first, nobody knew where she was. Then, they found out. She had locked herself inside her apartment for 3 days. After that, she emerged. And that was when the real trouble began. The first attack happened at a supermarket. Jemima was buying groceries when a woman tapped her shoulder. She turned around. It was Chizaram. Before Jemima could speak, a carton of yogurt flew through the air and exploded against her chest. The entire supermarket froze. "Thief!" Chizaram screamed. The security guards ran over. Customers abandoned their shopping carts. Chizaram.
Don't call my name. Please listen. Yeah. Did you listen when you were stealing my future?
By evening, the incident had reached every market in Umuahia. By the next morning, it had somehow reached people who weren't even involved. That was only the beginning. Over the next 6 months, Chizaram transformed into a one-woman disaster management agency. If Ned attended a business event, she appeared. If Jemima went shopping, she appeared. If they traveled, she somehow found out.
One afternoon, she marched into one of Ned's poultry branches carrying a loudspeaker. "Attention everybody," she announced. The workers immediately stopped working.
When you see that woman you call Madam Jemima, remember that she is a certified collector of other people's property.
The workers tried not to laugh. They failed. Ned arrived 30 minutes later, looking like a man whose blood pressure had resigned. By the time he got there, Chizaram had already gathered a crowd, a very enthusiastic crowd. For the first time in his life, Ned discovered that money could solve many problems, but not a determined ex-girlfriend. The situation became so bad that Jemima stopped attending public events. Inside her marriage, she found no peace. Every time she looked in the mirror, she remembered something she hated admitting. Chizaram had a reason to be angry. A year passed before the attacks finally stopped. Not because Chizaram forgave them. The attacks stopped because Chizaram disappeared. One morning, the market women arrived to discover her stall locked. The next day, it remained locked. The day after that, someone finally revealed the truth. Chizaram had relocated to Canada. Just like that. Gone. Only Jemima understood what had really happened. Ned had paid for the relocation. A continent-sized peace offering. Whether it was kindness or bribery, depending on who was telling the story. Either way, it worked. For the first time since her marriage, Jemima could breathe. Or so she thought. Because the funny thing about winning a battle is that sometimes it convinces you that the war is over. It wasn't. The day Chizaram left, something else arrived. Fear. At first, Jemima barely noticed it. It started small. A female customer smiling at Ned for too long. A waitress laughing at one of his jokes. A secretary adjusting her hair whenever he walked past. Tiny things, harmless things, except he no longer felt harmless. Jemima remembered exactly how she had entered Ned's life. A conversation, a smile, a little attention. That was all it had taken. If she could do it, somebody else could do it too. And suddenly, every woman looked suspicious. Within 2 years, Jemima had developed a surveillance network that would have impressed law enforcement agencies. She had informants in every poultry branch. Drivers reported movements. Managers reported visitors. Receptionists reported conversations. One afternoon, Ned entered branch 3 to inspect operations. Before he could sit down, Jemima arrived. The manager nearly dropped his clipboard. "Madam, how did you know Oga was here?" Jemima smiled. "I have the Holy Spirit." The Holy Spirit in this case was a cashier named Blessing who received monthly recharge cards. As the years passed, Jemima became more feared than loved. Even her children, Esther and Chinedu, noticed the change. The gentlewoman Ned had married was disappearing. Something harder was taking her place. Then, 8 years after the wedding, Kaima walked into branch 4. And the moment Ned looked at her, Jemima felt something cold crawl down her spine because she recognized that look. After all, she had seen it before. It was the exact same look Ned gave her the first day they met.